Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the HR and Payroll 2.0 podcast. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Pete. And I think this is our first news blast of the year, right?
Yeah. This is going to be our winter edition of, the news episode. We haven't done one since, when did we do one?
Probably
We
October,
did events.
November.
We did events maybe maybe December. So this was going to be a news episode. There's been a flurry of global payroll, global EOR updates that have been happening that I think we could talk about, some acquisitions, some new products that I think are really, really mentionable. And we've been to a couple of events already.
Mhm.
You've been to a couple of events already. We got more events coming. So I thought there was a good time to go ahead and have a news release, go through this, and then get us started for the year. So all right. Well, look, I got a couple of other things. First, I want to thank our sponsors. We're really, really happy with this new arrangement. Hopefully, you're happy with this new arrangement. We have really given us the opportunity to have funding to power what we've been doing, ad-free education, helping people think about these things that are changing and what to do. And so, just want to say thank you to Zoho, OneSource Virtual, and GP for their generosity and keeping us ad-free. So that's working out great. And Julie, as you know, the result of that is that we are starting to put more into our production. You can see we've got some new cameras in the house. We've got some new mics in the house. We are traveling. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you're probably seeing us show up a little bit. I don't want to say differently, but in it more, right? You're seeing us probably
Hopefully
show up
better.
more. Yes, better.
Better.
But showing up on social media, right? Trying to get more folks who maybe aren't listening to the show to come and listen with us and help us grow the platform. So I just would love to say thank you for sticking with us, but also give us your feedback. We would really love to know, are our trailers hitting home, right? Are they making you want to listen? Is the content what you want to hear? Are there folks you would want to hear from? More of something, less of something, whatever that might be, shoot us the feedback, however you want to do that. And we'll take it. Lots of change going on here. We're trying to improve every day, a little bit better every day. And Julie, I don't know if everyone knows this year, I stalled the Payroll Profession Confidence Index. I kind of held off on that. I wanted to get as far away from year end as we possibly could, because before I was starting in late January and I felt like folks still had their hangover from year end. Year end's still going on for some. You got calls coming in through Feb, I know. And so I thought, hey, let's push that off. Let's push it more into maybe March. Give people a little bit of a breather and bring that around. So please look out for the Payroll Profession Confidence Index. It's coming. It'll be in its, third year?
Yeah.
We're getting some data. I'm working on some benchmarking, but we got to go slow with that because I don't want that to be, I don't want to put it out there and it not be accurate. So we're going to keep gathering here. But and this year, I'll say this, Julie, I'm going to break my rule about not getting too deep into tech, but we are going to push on AI. I think we have to.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of questions. I'd also just like to know what the barometer is right now on how, because that's a big, big part of the future. So I think it's right for me to bring that in a little bit more nuanced than maybe I have with tech in the past, where we've kept it purely sentiment and value. So we got to start trying to draw on the dots on that too,
Yeah, makes sense. In fact, we're doing, we've done, I've done through Heron Palmer, we've done practitioner AI survey last year. Well, we're just queuing up another one to do this year. They're very short, 10 questions or less. So maybe I'll share that link with you and we can kind of push that out as well, so we can get folks to share some thoughts there.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right. And one special thing I have a bit of a rant about the global EOR space specifically. And I think if you know me and my passion for the global EOR space, which I'm going to help you understand, if you don't, into this episode, I want you to stick around to the end of this episode. I'm gonna focus on all the news and all the great updates and all the events we've been to. But I've got a rant, and it matches a post that I put out last week that I hope folks maybe have seen, or maybe they already did see. And I want to talk about that at the end here. So without further ado, let's go ahead, or without further delay, let's jump into this and talk our events. Julie, do you want to go first? Because you did two, and then the two that I have might be more product-y, more news, where we can talk. It'll slant right into the rest of what we got. But you want to start off?
Sure. I wanted to highlight two events that I've been at just in the last few weeks here. The first is Dayforce. In the end of January, they had their sales kickoff meeting, or SKOs, right? This is the time of year when all of the providers get their folks together and give them, some clarity on what's coming and what's in the year ahead. And this year at Dayforce, the core theme was the next level. So the dominant message across that whole event was really moving from innovation to clarity and execution. I think we're going to see similar themes, right, across all of the providers. And the idea here, that was emphasized over and over was product to tech focus is game-changing but grounded. And I think, again, you'll see a lot of providers really trying to focus on, okay, there's a lot of tech hype, going on,
Mm,
and we have to make that real. So I just bulleted out a handful of things from that event that I would have liked to know if I'd have missed it. The first is AI being positioned as embedded workflow enablement and not standalone features. So as
good.
AI has
Yeah.
gotten a lot of hype, it's been by poking at those features, and I think embedded workflow enablement is something that buyers want to hear. Seeing a lot of very strong coming out of the Dayforce SKO alignment between data and insights and decision making. That's
Yeah.
underlying that, research based. Why am I doing whatever I'm doing with agents, right?
Yep.
So that was a message that hit home for me. Seeing, in that same vein, getting to practical use cases that are tied to decisions that are then tied to, like what modules or what you have to sell and how you
Right.
engage customers. So again, trying to bring that up forward into some of the conversations. In the AI positioning, it's more capability to adoption. So this happens with I think all technologies universally. Providers tell you what's there and, here it is, we have some stuff. And on the other side, users are saying, where is it? How do I get to it? What do I do
Mhm.
with it? That sort of thing. So bridging some of that gap. And I think a real focus on just near term deliverables and making something solid. So those were kind of some of the snippets that I thought we might highlight a little bit in that event from Dayforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Larger and larger
Absolutely.
events, really exciting. They get a lot of
Yeah.
energy in the room in these things.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, that's what I love about our show, right? You go to a lot of the SKOs as a partner that, as analysts, we don't generally go to unless we're
Right.
presenting our research or opinions or something. I tend to go to more the analyst side, which is a little
Yeah.
bit more, maybe even a little bit more NDA sometimes. So I love that we balance that out. But yeah, I'll tell you, Julia, I just had a conversation with Dayforce today. I'm actually looking to have John Kilstulis come on.
Hmm.
One of my
Hmm.
Greek, I call him my Greek cousin, former analyst at Gartner, incredibly well respected now on the Dayforce side, and he wants to come. I've been trying to get him on for a while to just talk about his lens as an analyst, but now being over with the Dayforce platform and just talking about some of the problems that they're solving and how they're helping customers with those sorts of challenges that you just mentioned. So
Right. Right.
looking forward to that. And I had a blog last year that broke down all that's going on at Dayforce, and we did an episode. So refer to those. There's
Yeah.
a lot of good info there too.
Yeah, and if there are people who are joining us for the first time, I mean, just know we talk about a lot of these different providers because
Yeah,
that's what we
it's
all want to
news.
know. It's
Yeah,
hard to keep up with everything, and Pete and I are fiercely independent, so we want to bring you that information without sounding necessarily like we're
yeah.
endorsing or making claims
No.
about certain
No,
products.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I have to keep objectivity as an analyst as well. And even though I don't rank vendors anymore. So we're really just trying to show you what's going on and say, hey, you
yeah.
make a decision for yourself about what that means from two folks that happen to have a little bit of a look behind the curtain at the wizard.
Yeah. So should
Yeah.
I go into my second one? I brought
Yes.
two
Yeah.
to the table
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
first week of February, then, as I said, it tis the season for sales kickoff events.
Yep.
And I was privileged to join Strada at their sales kickoff. And one thing I wanted to start here with, Pete, is Strada as a brand, as a branded group, still is, finding its way. And yet, in fact, it has historically, it came from Northgate Arinso HR, Northgate NGA HR, to a
Yeah.
light, to a spinoff. And historically, it has been the largest competitor to ADP in the global payroll space. And
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of folks make that connection or have recognized and tracked the brand
Yeah.
along to understand that they
Yeah.
aren't a new guy on the block, right? They're not a new
No.
kid.
We've talked about that, right? I mean, I worked there back in the NGA days, and yeah, they've come a long way from the amalgam of Northgate and Arinso getting together, going through the Aon Hewitt days of being acquired by Aon, and then ultimately be spinning off to become Alight, and then again
That's
that
right.
that specific niche of global payroll going off to Strata. So what are we talking? Probably
Yeah.
30 plus years or
Right,
so.
right. So yeah, so
Yeah,
if you think because of the brand name it's a new kid, it's not a new
yeah.
kid, it's an old kid.
And we've had a lot
It's
of
a
the
mature
alumni on
kid.
here.
That's
Yeah, on
right.
this show.
That's right.
Yeah,
So their theme was performance to possibility, and what was interesting or fun about this particular time of the year and their kickoff for 2026 is that 2025 really was a lot about the mechanics of the spin out or the split of Alight for the benefits of the proprietary stuff that Alight has always had and Strata, on their side. And so
yeah,
there's a lot that goes into those sorts of things. And so that was, took up a big part of mind share for leadership and
yeah,
others in 2025. And so now it's pretty fair to say that the mechanics are behind them. And there's this whole organization that is just pumped and primed to shift away from all of that noise and get into the
Yep.
business of optimizing their current clients, finding the right solutions for new clients. And it brings a whole new energy to any organization to kind of get that behind you and be able to focus forward. So that was
Yeah.
cool. Let me give you a few highlights of things that caught my attention first.
Yeah.
First of all,
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
Strata is kind of a services led value proposition, less than being product centric, and I have to develop the the SKUs and the modules. And part of that is because they lean in pretty heavy to clients' existing investments in Workday, SAP, Oracle, Cloud, whatever it is. That not that they don't have their own technologies, they do for global payroll and other things, but you don't have to lean in as heavily to the SKU side of the house. You can really focus on something that has been their strength for a long time, which is services first transformation, and the idea that they really have a unique lens because they go everywhere from design to deploy to operate. They're one of those folks that will
Yep.
operate, and bring services on top of your platform with these big HCMs, and that's very unique to them. And it does give them a unique lens into how to solve problems and how to look at end to end
Yeah.
payroll. And so other highlights, that I saw that were really fun to listen to and made a lot of sense to me are, Stratus really worked on a refined partner network. A lot
Hmm.
of times, folks in our space are partners with everyone, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, besides the Workdays and the SAPs where they'll deliver services on top, you have, laser focus on a payments vendor like Navro, right? A global benefits administration partner benefits, not
Right.
all of them, just one,
Yep.
right? And kind
Yep.
of picking one and really having some deeper, more ingrained services. So that's unique to them, and that's a differentiator in kind of how they look at things. Also starting to get, really focused, laser focused with some new hires in their leadership team on the infusion of AI based on research and optimization. You're hearing a theme, right?
Yep.
Across the providers for that. And I say two other things, Workday clients in particular, Ben Admin and Wellness. They have some unique things going on there. And as clients start to think about, well, should I leverage my HCM suite for Ben Admin? There's some unique services there that make that maybe more attractive or more possible. And they have a very unique relationship now here with Workday Wellness as well for
Yes.
Workday
Yeah.
clients.
I
They've,
was going to say that they're more
yeah,
than payroll. I don't know if people realize that I think we emphasize that when we talk to them is that the benefits went with them,
that's
the
right.
benefits for Workday. Yeah.
Yeah. And because of the whole wellness connection, they'll be, kind of exclusively doing those integration changeovers from Cloud Connect for benefits to the Workday Wellness integration.
Hmm.
I think they have maybe 12 months or so that they'll be the
Yeah.
primary folks doing that. And the Ben admin that they do on top of Workday. I just really think we'll see a lot of noise about
Yep.
that. And I think it's welcome. We see a lot of companies are really interested in knowing how could I leverage that
Yeah.
in my current. And the last thought I'll bring in, I had this one caught my heart a little bit. Some of their organizational alignment has been, tweaked as providers often
Hmm.
do, and their payroll services and the ongoing AMS support are going to be coming closer together versus
Hmm.
the AMS. And when I say that, I mean the application maintenance, like all the care and feeding of the
Yeah.
actual technology, has often sat closer to the cloud deployment side, the implementation side. Well, it's really an ongoing service, and I'm hopeful that putting those two things together will help Strata bring forward any of the providers, right? Think about this, guys. Everybody who's out there, think
Yeah.
about getting better at doing the source to gross, solving some of the source to gross challenges instead of
Yeah.
where payroll
The heavy
always
lift.
focuses. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always
The
gross to
heavy
net.
lift.
And so I'd like to see more of those pains up the chain to
Yeah.
source to gross be solved, and maybe putting those two things together is a really cool way
Yeah.
to do it.
That's a good segue into what I heard over in Prague. I'm going to talk about
Cool.
that. But no, I think you nailed it. I mean, that's a perfect way to describe, look, I don't think it's any secret. Most people know I took a break from being an analyst for a year and was the head of strategy at Alight, now, what is now Strata. And the reasoning for that is because they are one of one. They are very,
Yeah,
very unique.
they are unique.
And not just Workday, right? A rich SAP practice that goes way back to the Arinso days, one of the first. But yeah, you really are they really are a very unique organization that can help and has helped a number of incredibly large brands transform very complicated problems in their organization. And so, yeah, good to
Yeah.
see them thriving. I love that they've got a new home now with
For
HIG.
sure. Yeah, and I didn't really
Yeah.
mean to overly emphasize the Workday bit because there's some uniqueness
Yeah.
there. But on the SAP side of the house, they
It's
have
a
a
rich
great
practice.
partnership. It's been their heritage coming out of Europe, right, forever.
Yeah.
And they had some partners there that I had a chance to talk to. And SAP is deep, deep into trying to get clients to move payroll to the cloud. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
whether you're in the Strata ecosphere or not, you have, an awful lot. I think I heard 5,000 or 6,000 clients that need to be moved into ECP or figure out how the heck they're getting to cloud
Yep.
payroll.
Yep.
And so that is certainly an area of focus. And there's going to be a lot of market talk from folks who are affected by that.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, good to hear it. Good to hear that
Yeah.
they're doing well. I got to catch up with them in Barcelona as well. And yeah, just a lot of good stuff coming out of there. So good for
Okay.
that.
So
All
you
right.
had two events too you were bringing to the table.
Yeah,
Tell
well,
me
look,
about them.
yeah, and then there's a bunch of news that's happened here in the market that we should go over. So, look, the first one that I will draw your attention to is one that anyone could have attended, and I did attend very closely, and even got a briefing afterward from Annette Guez, the founder of Papaya Global. So, I'm talking about the Papaya Global 2030 Workforce Summit, and I'll put the links out there because I think you should go and check this out. And look, I don't know if everyone knows Papaya that well. I think most folks would think of them as purely an EOR, or maybe they're purely a global payroll provider. But what I think that they have done quietly, I wouldn't even say it's quietly, but very, very, very specifically and very deliberately, is built an all-in-one sort of stack for the global employment, global pay sort of audience, right? And when you think about the way they describe their solution as a workforce OS, a workforce operating system, I think it's there, right? And one of the things that I think that they did as a very I would say an early mover, and that now everyone has had to at least partner for, if not build some things, is go hard on the real time payments and embedded finance, embedded payment sort of future that we can see is now played out, right? And I think that doubling down on payments has come full fruition here for Papaya when you think about it underpinning the ability to employ and pay someone anywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention the deep managed services that capability they have for global payroll as well. What I most applaud them for is that, you and I are former practitioners. We have, I think, before this word became famous, or not famous, but so marketing and buzzy now with AI, we talked about orchestration and how we were starved for that, right? I think you and I have, me and my pet
Lived
peeve
it.
around
Yeah.
leave administration, right? That the orchestration of weaving things together is really, really necessary. Now, what I think is really interesting is if you listen to that event and if you listen to the way that they discuss that, right? They talk about a very flowy, streamy, always on, always moving, sort of continuous and fluid experience, right? And I believe I just wrote about this in a 4-part series about how I think that we are at a point where now we need talent fluidity, we need liquidity, right? We need to be able to move money quickly. We need to be able to not have it sitting in float accounts forever. People need to be paid on demand. We need to employ on demand. We need to find skills on demand. All of it is becoming very much needing to be streaming on all the time, where we can sort of dip our cups in the river, if you will, of what you need, whether that's data, whether that's talent, and whether that means bringing all of that together to get that talent and pay that talent and activate it, right? So what I think is really cool here is that in addition to sort of showing their workforce operating system, Papaya demonstrated how their various agents are working together, not just working to do certain use cases, but working together to flow all of this out in a very autonomous way, a very orchestrated way, right? They fundamentally have demonstrated orchestration that we have been sort of craving, that
Craving.
a lot of folks are still kind of talking about, but not really demonstrating. So I thought we could, I know Ryan, our wizard behind the curtain, has been begging me for more visuals. I thought, hey, let's show this. And I thought you and I could opine on this a little bit. And I could give you some context as to what Papaya is doing, how their clients are digesting it, and what you think about it from that perspective, if that's
Yeah.
cool. Now, again, as we always say, we're in no way endorsing any product. We're just trying to show you what's out there and help you think about what it might mean for your
And
operations.
I think amazingly, like this is something that many folks are thinking about as well. And maybe there are
Yeah.
other examples of it out there. So, but let's show and tell a little bit and
Yep.
see, what it is that caught your eye and
All
how
right.
we link that to the words orchestration, right?
Let's do this. Let's see if I can give you this window here. All right. Want to get your thoughts.
Imagine a world where work doesn't wait, where it simply flows. You describe what you need, a back-end engineer for your LATAM operations. That's it. The system listens, understands, reflects back what it heard. A few quick clarifications. Should this be continuous or time-bound? Now watch. Compliance resolves automatically. Jurisdictions analyzed, structures applied, no forms. How should value flow? Continuously. Finding verified talent streams, not candidates, not resumes, live capacity ready to activate. Everything resolved, ready to stream. Activate. Workstream activated. No setup, no delays. Watch closely. A new talent stream appears. Verified. Ready. And just like that, work starts. Now watch what happens next. The moment work begins, payment begins. You're paying an individual, anywhere in the world, in their currency without friction. Instantly. And here's the proof. Capital moves right now from your account through the system directly to the worker. This isn't payroll. This is flow. Work turned into money instantly. This is how it should feel.
All right. Now, you saw the demo. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
My first thought is it's so natural language that I wasn't
Yeah.
sure what the heck they were trying to do, right? I'm thinking, I'm thinking through my HR payroll practitioner lens or hat,
Yeah.
and so I found myself asking, the whole time, okay, like what part of an end-to-end process am I dealing
Yeah.
with here, or am I really taking it from like a reorg?
Yeah.
I need to
Well,
reorg, and I'm putting a different
I
pin
think
in a
it's
different place.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit high level, but I think what it's demonstrating to you is sort of the handoff of things chaining from one thing to the next. And
Yes,
yeah, I think it is a little bit sped up. There would obviously be engagement with folks in between.
for sure.
But I think you can see how the idea that these things ought to naturally connect,
Yes.
interconnect, interplay and work together is really what we're fundamentally talking about. That's a very small snippet of what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah,
When you think about global payroll, you think about even EOR, right, from end to end. But when you think of the idea that, hey, there's an onboarding agent, there's a contracting agent, there's a processing agent, there's a reconciliation agent, right? And all these things are available to you. Now you can see the ability for them to flow from one to the next and
yeah.
absolutely chain these things together. So I really think it's
Absolutely, and I
a
do
step
think
towards what we're going to be doing.
I think so too, and I also think as even search engine kind of, style activities get more fluid, you can interact better with it as opposed to, trying to
Yeah,
find some keywords. I think this is a great example of how you might not have to know exactly which part of an end-to-end process you're asking
yeah,
AI to do. You will be able to dial back the lens a little bit and give it some more general instruction and have it link and orchestrate some of these other things that might not be very siloed, right? In
yeah,
reality. I really think we're going to hear a lot of those types of language now applied because
yeah.
with new tools comes new language. So, it was agile before, and, now I think we are going to start to see fluidity, orchestration. I do believe some of those things are going to happen and be language that we encounter universally, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I really do like the bold move here. I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of talk of use cases. We talked about this on some of our updates last year about how there was a lot of in 2024 there was a lot of talk about things, and then 25 we saw a little bit more of the use cases come to life. And
right,
now I
right.
think you're seeing the sharpening of use cases
Yeah,
and the broadening of use cases. But I think this is a very bold a bold step
yeah,
forward
yeah,
for Papaya. And I talked to Inette. We had a briefing about this, and she said, there's a good number of clients using them, multiple hundreds using this at their digestive needs, their
yeah, yeah.
maturity,
At their
as and when they're ready. And they
pace.
see this as fundamentally the platform for what their customers will be leveraging and bouncing off of or launching off of to do their work. What I think is really unique about this is just all that money movement element is in
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
That's impressive. That's
That is
impressive.
impressive, and in fact, so many more providers are really kinda expanding their stack in order to include global payments and money movement, and
Yeah.
so I think in that respect, these guys have been at it for a little while, and now, going beyond doing it and showing fluidity in that, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I also say this about Papaya. They also did. I don't know if you saw this. I think they put this out maybe back last fall. They did put out a new connector, if not a integration layer for them that can allow them to move any data from any system, right? Gives them the ability to go beyond simply just having, I wouldn't say simple, it's a lot of investment they've made in Workday connections and integrations and SAP and all the major platforms. But the ability now to really take that a step further, as well as apply the agentic capabilities that they have and start to prevent this orchestration. You can see what's lining up here for a
Yeah.
real tech-enabled service experience.
Yeah,
So,
and I know that
yeah.
folks who couldn't see that very well in the show notes, you'll have, where,
Yeah.
like you said, it was globally available. Anybody could have kind of joined and seen it.
Yeah. You should
And
check it out.
you can
And
go
by
and
the way,
check it out.
you should check out that event. It was a great event, great speakers. Meg Bayer, I don't know if anyone knows Meg Bayer from formerly from SAP SuccessFactors. I believe she has joined the board there at Papaya. She spoke at this event. That's a real treat. If you could just pop in for that, I think you would get a lot of value out of it. But stick around and check out what Papaya is doing. I think it's some cool stuff. And yeah, I think that's real impressive that Meg has joined. It's a nod of confidence towards what they're building. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so that was
all right.
one of your two events, right?
Yeah. So the other event that I had the privilege to join again for, I don't know, probably my 8th or ninth year, I suppose, is the ADP ReThink event. Now, I don't know if everyone is familiar. ADP has two very big flagship events. One in the U.S. called Meeting of the Minds, very much their bread and butter
That's
client,
right.
right? It's going to be your middle market
All
to small
sizes.
market customers. Yeah, largely the stalwart North American customer of ADP. But Rethink is, and I wrote a blog on this. I think I write one almost every year. This year, I'm not sure I will. I'll probably just do the podcast. But I did one on London a couple years ago and talked about the specialness of the uniqueness of Rethink. And really, you're talking the largest, invite only, by the way, about
Yeah, that's
300
right.
folks join. And you're talking the largest companies in the world, right? So I ran into DoorDash, I ran into Gannon, I ran into Corning, I ran into Delta, Hilton, Marriott, you name it. The biggest companies are really there. I heard
That's
Amazon
right.
was there, Facebook. So you're talking very, very high level payroll and HR operational leaders and mind share. And then also you're going to see a handful of partners like GP was there, EpiUse was in the house, and a couple of other firms, Accenture, because of some of their deeper relationship now. So yeah, and it's just a really good event. Julie, I'll tell you, a lot of conversations, a lot of work going on out there, man. Everybody's digesting it. Everybody's trying to
Mm-hmm.
do something. It's either I'm on a full global payroll transformation path. You've got a lot of folks out there I'm hearing are really trying to figure out their shared service environments, trying to build out their regional capabilities. But I'll tell you, the one thing that came up almost every enterprise I talked to was time and attendance
Here it
and workforce
comes.
management.
Oh, I knew
So
you were going to say
um,
that.
obviously just beautifully timed for ADP to be bringing workforce software right to the table. But we've talked this subject many, many times in many, many different angles here. But is that track with you? Are you having that conversation as well?
Oh, yeah, it totally
Yeah.
tracks. And in fact, I do the newsletter, the LinkedIn newsletter, and push that out monthly. And I
Yeah.
think I had 5 months running last year, workforce management conversations or
Yeah.
topics, because there is a lot of stir around that, because there is EU transparency, that folks are wrestling with. There's a lot of provider movements with ADB bringing in workforce software,
Yep.
and some of the things that UKG has been doing on their side. So there has been a lot of noise in that space, and
Yeah.
there's a lot to it, and
Yeah.
it's one of those hairier processes
It
that
is.
that
But
goes with frontline workers and that whole theme,
yep.
right?
It's a heavy lift in payroll. We've talked about
Yeah.
it on this show. We talked about it on others. It's the heavy lift, man. And if you can nail the source to gross, build to gross elements, you can make payroll a lot easier on the gross
Yeah.
to net
Yeah.
and the outcomes and all of that. Everybody's happy. Everybody ends up happy. It's a win-win. So I've been writing a lot about this. I wrote an ebook with UKG on the topic about starting to think about global payroll and time as a single play and bringing those maybe in alignment is quicker than you thought.
Yeah.
A lot of value
And
in that.
and I'll
So
just issue a caution there. I mean, that
yeah.
might be the ideal, but a lot of
Yep.
payroll providers have enough to deal with. I mean, just know that when you put those two in the same bucket and try to deal with them as one
Yep.
object, you immediately discount a lot of really valid market players out there, because
Yeah.
they
So
tackle
few
the
can do it
payroll and
together.
not the time, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
separable,
I
but
wasn't
together.
insinuating that you always have to go to one
Yeah, yeah,
vendor. You should always do what's best for your. But there's more options now, right?
that's
ADP and
right.
Workforce Software,
That's right.
UKG,
UKG,
Daily Pay, Dayforce
Dayforce. Yeah,
can all do very, very good work with both of those together. But you're absolutely right. You've got to mix and match
yeah,
what makes sense.
for
Historically,
sure.
that's not been possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
It's
100%,
coming
100%.
together for sure, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it picks up the theme that we've seen since last year, especially on the frontline workforce,
yep.
and the fact that frontline workers are still in the heart of 2026 for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So yeah, so a lot of great conversations. Julie, other couple things to talk about along that lines. Accenture and ADP are getting a little bit closer for that SI purpose, helping with those deployments,
That's
especially the
right.
10,000 and above kind of customer, those big high volume enterprises that need, maybe some SI deployment sort of support. So you'll see more on the Accenture and ADP thing as we go forward.
That's right.
I also think that they are doing. I happen to see this because I bring some of my clients there, my startups and other clients. The marketplace is very key for the global side of ADP. They understand that there are going to be localized needs, localized desires, various different things that are needed around Europe and Asia that will require an expanded partner marketplace. So
Yeah.
you'll see a lot more of those options coming around. Also, by the way, ADP emphasized something I didn't know about the AI Ethics Council that they have internally, and they've had for several years. So good to know, right? They're listening to
Hmm.
their
Hmm.
customers and engaging them in these sort of things, and very much building out that way. As far as new product, I'd say you saw probably some expanded use cases for ADP Assist at the show, some contextual sort of guidance for employees around PTO and other compliance but policy related stuff. Practitioners getting more help for how to go and where to go and to fix things, anomalies that are coming up, right? So a lot more enriching, I guess, of ADP Assist, which, by the way, I confirmed, Julie, is actually included for all clients. They have to
Yeah.
opt in, but it is fundamentally included in their solution. So
Yeah, and you know
that's
what? That
nice.
that is really something we'll be tracking along this year too. As you know,
Yeah,
that was part of one of our big predictions. What's embedded and what is
yeah,
commercialized separately, and I think we're going to see different strokes for different folks here. And then, I'm glad you called out the ethics council that ADP has because I think you're going to see that more and more from other providers. It was a highlight at the Dayforce conference.
yeah.
Kind of what they do to do some of that, and so ADP is always at the forefront of a lot of that stuff, but oftentimes there are others that are have their heads in the same space. So those are things that I think people should be looking for as well when they're thinking about their strategies.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But all around a good update from ADP. Lyric is
Cool.
doing really well, Julie, especially
Yeah.
now. Now think about the competitiveness of that being able to have workforce software integrated and global payroll integrated. So
Yeah.
that's the 1,000 and up sort of targeted customer if you think about it for Lyric. But I think it's getting stronger. It's the adoption's growing, and now with this workforce management or workforce software capability integrated, I think it's a real competitor now to what UKG was capable of doing, right? Or even
Yeah.
Dayforce was doing.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
looking good at ADP. I know you got a lot of clients that use them.
Yeah,
So
we do. I think we
yeah,
have a almost a 70% overlap sometimes of clients
yeah.
on the enterprise side. But
But I see,
cool.
you know
I'm
what?
glad we did.
I see a lot of the regional stuff still, Julie, where you rarely talk to anyone that has sort of an all in yet.
Yeah.
There's some, but mostly it's like, we use ADP here, we use Strata there, we use whatever here for a regional sort of segment that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
haven't carved out.
Well,
So
I actually think that fits quite well with some of the things that maybe year three of your PPCI will uncover, which is
yeah,
if payroll is a strategic function or
yeah,
looking strategically, then you get out of this kind of shared services. All I'm trying to do is do more for less optimization.
yeah,
And you get more into some different flavors or different variations where you're getting some unique values out of whatever it is that you've
yeah,
put together as your strategy. So
yeah,
makes
totally.
sense to me. Cool.
Totally, totally. All right.
Okay.
So look, I got a handful of news here that we can go over. I think we should just hit on a couple of
Yeah.
kind of interesting things in the market. And look, I think you're going to see a good bit of consolidation as we go forward. I think you're going to find
You
that
must be talking to EOR right now because
well,
we've
not
been.
even just EOR. I think, yeah, EOR and payroll, global payroll, I think you're going to see consolidation. I just think in the market, we're going to see consolidation for a number of reasons. People gobbling up things that are going to fill gaps, people picking up things that are beneficial to their base, or maybe there's some
Accelerating.
opportunities,
Yeah.
yeah, accelerating innovation, right? Maybe there's some exciting AI thing that someone can grab that's going to make them get there faster. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's start off with the acquisitions. So first off, Boundless, our good friends, Dee
Mm-hmm.
Coakley. She came on
Dee
the show a few
Coakley, yep.
times. Her team and her brand, Boundless, was acquired by Payoneer. And if you recall, Payoneer picked up SKAUD, SKAUD, I believe it was, back in what, 24-ish, fall of 24. So you've got them, really kind of obviously picking up some strategic plays there. Payoneer, more of a payment side of things, but Boundless there brings them a good solid capability in Europe. Scott, I think, might have leaned maybe a little bit more Asia Pac. I can't remember. Maybe it was Europe as well. So a little bit of action there
Yep.
already
Mm,
right out of the gate this year. And congrats to D and them for exiting
for sure.
to a home. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, more. We've got Remote. Remote picked up Atlas X, not Atlas the EOR, not their
DOR, right?
competitor. Atlas X. It is actually a spend management solution. Sorry, how do I say it? Expense management solution. I think I was saying
Mm-hmm.
spend management. It's different. Expense management. So now you'll have things like the Atlas card. It's got a point system. It's got some global healthcare capabilities in there as well for local insurances. So a little bit of I guess you could say a financial tools sort of play for Remote
Yeah.
there.
Almost
So
wellness. Almost reminds
yeah,
me of some of the
a little bit,
chime
a
type
little
stuff.
bit. And not surprising, right? That's a big deal for all the EORs to have to deal with
Yeah.
some of that benefit addressing. So okay, I don't know if anybody knew this, but back when we covered Deel's funding, right? They got a new funding round, if you remember. I don't know if we mentioned this, but Omnipresent got picked up in that very
Okay.
quietly. Wasn't a lot of big splash about that. My understanding from talking to some of the executives around the industry, that might have been a distressed buy, that they may have been looking for someone to pick them up to prevent maybe closing down. I don't know
Right.
that to be totally true, so we'll put that out there as a rumor.
Speculation.
But it might make sense. I poked around on Omnipresent early in its stages, and I thought the way it was going to market was a little bit interesting for how it was doing it, just marketing wise. But hey, you never know. But look, again, I think for Deel, they're always looking to fill gaps and round out their entities and engines and things. So it probably makes perfect sense for them
Right. Right.
to gobble something up like that. There were also, I was having a chat with Dan, one of my clients down at HR Africa, and he was telling me about a couple of acquisitions that happened late last year, Julie.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Hitekers, Highte, I think it's
Take.
Tekers. Yeah, they picked up a Latin American play and an Asia Pac play in EOS. I don't know if you've ever seen EOS. They had kind of like I don't know, like an angel looking sort of logo is all I remember. They got picked up by Hitekers. So Hitekers now has a much stronger capability in those two
Okay.
regions. So I just throw that in there to say that I didn't know about that one, but it shows you just how I think some of these players are building out and accelerating regional
Yeah.
capabilities,
Yeah.
right? They're carving that in and being able to then have the entities and the delivery and such under their control. So I think that is very indicative of what we're going to see more of, right?
Yeah.
And look,
Yeah.
some of these firms, right, are it's hard to grow in this business, right? When you're up against the Deals and the multipliers and the GPs who are putting out big dollars into marketing and ad campaigns, sales boots on the ground. When you're these smaller firms, it's hard to continue to grow and hard to compete for that churny sort of service that it is. That I think sometimes getting acquired is the best path to maybe being a smaller
Yeah,
fish in a bigger
sure. And
pond.
each of those,
Yeah,
whenever those happen, each of those companies brings its own client base that might have had some unmet needs, right? And so there's kind of there's an instant, broader client base
yeah,
across which you can grow and build a name brand or services. And so not
yeah.
surprised at all that we would see that.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically, yeah, so that's pretty much all I have from that perspective. I'll tell you this, Julie, I didn't talk about this, but I also want to talk about my rant still. One of the things we did at Rethink that I thought was a real treat was GP's COO, Nat Natarajan, ran a really fun, you would have really appreciated this, Julie. He ran a really informative workshop kind of session where we had about a dozen, maybe 10 of us in each little group. I think there was 3 or 4 groups of 10. And it was leaders across all sorts of HR and payroll talking AI. And I thought it was really fascinating. I took a bunch of notes from that and I put it out on LinkedIn. But what I think I came away with in there was that basically there's not a lot of training happening
Yeah.
for AI literacy. That's a problem we got to
Yeah.
fix at the manager level, but especially at the front line. There's a lot of nascent usage going on where most people are just playing around with, say, a Copilot or an approved enterprise level version of ChatGPT, but there's not a lot of governance happening from the top down, driving it as like a broad process improvement or a program that's sort of educating and advancing everyone at the same time. So there's these very siloed sort of activities. And then I think there's just still a gap in the definition of value here about what people really are expecting to get out of it, because I don't know that we're defining what we want to solve for. We're just sort of trying to solve before we've actually defined.
Yep.
So just
Yeah.
a lot of things that have been tracking with what we've been hearing, right?
And I think
So
some of that is leaders and executive leaders are kind of approaching now AI is a mandate, like go and do this. Like
yeah,
they might not be the first guys exploring AI themselves.
yep,
Admins
yep,
might be exploring AI first. And those value expectations really have to come from there as well. In
yep.
order to align any of this into something more strategic than just, hey, get comfortable with it and figure out what you're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, I got one more thing here. I want to go on my
Is
rant
this
for just
it?
a minute. Yes, this is my rant, Julie. All right, maybe, and I'm going to
Okay.
try not to make this a rant, but I want to wrap up this episode because we've just talked about the EOR space, the global, global payroll. All of it is so exciting, and I got to be honest with you. I pinch myself every day that this is my job. That I actually get paid to fly around and sit in the rooms and listen and help guide some of the coolest stuff that's coming in the world. And one of the things that I have always had the attitude of the way I do business and the way that I think and I try to encourage vendors to do business. And I think that the global payroll providers figured this out. And I think that they've gotten better at it, is the rising tides raise all boats sort of thing, right? In that, look, I don't know if many people understand how incestuous this industry is,
Yeah.
especially global payroll, how much of it is being partnered and how much each other needs each other, right? But I don't know that the global EOR cohort has come around to that. I think there is an immaturity amongst that section of the business of the market, right? That has had a lot of success really fast, and sometimes in spite of themselves, are creating a phenomenal service that I have called. And listen, I'm one of the, if there's anybody on this planet that's under the hood or so lays around thinking about global EOR or global payroll more than anybody, I'd love to meet them, because I have spent probably the last decade poking around EOR, writing about EOR, creating the first research program about it, and then fundamentally staying very close to it and advising and working and trying to theorize. And just wrote an article set with GP or was published by GP on what I think the future of the service is.
Yeah.
I love the service. I see it as I did the PEO service and all the beautiful things that it can offer for an organization. But what I don't love is I feel like the industry itself, the cohort of vendors, behave like it's like a high school, right? It's a bunch of awkward teenagers trying to find their way. And some of them are doing really cool things and others are doing some cool things. But everyone's competing. Do you know what I mean? So the reason I say this is why I say that all rising tides raise all boat things, right? If one vendor puts out something bold and innovative, Papaya, right? I think what they did was very bold and very innovative. I'm very impressed by it. And I don't throw that around to a lot of things, but I am impressed by it. And there was some sniping about it, right? From some outlying vendors. And I thought, and it's very passive aggressive shit that drives me crazy. And I've seen this a lot, right? But I've said this again. If one EOR or global payroll provider, or fill in the blank on any HR tech lane, recruiting, performance management, whatever it is, if one of you puts out something bold and innovative, you all win.
Yeah.
If one of you makes a Super Bowl commercial or is on a golfer's shirt, you all win. Velocity Global, right? Had Billy Horschel. I just happen to know who Billy Horschel is. I'm not a golfer, but Velocity Global was on his hat for a long time. I know GP has sponsored some things. They do something with the New England Patriots. That's a win for all of global EOR,
Yeah.
right? When one of you does something positive, there's a big positive thing, that's a win for everybody. Likewise, when one of you sues the other one, that's a black eye for all of you, right? When one of you fails, that's a black eye for all of you. When one of you snipes at the other one, it's a black eye for all of you. So what I'm trying to say is I think we have to, I would love to see the global EOR cohort. And I will tell you that there are more mature executives in this industry who do reach out and do the right thing and try to say, hey, let's try to work together because there's plenty to go around. We can all win for the good of the industry, right? The GEIO is a great example of that. Bjorn Reynolds at Safeguard and Ben over at Velocity with now Pebble, Nicole at GP, and Annette at Papaya got together and said, let's create this consortium to help advance this industry and promote this industry's health and positivity and outlook. that's a win for
Yeah.
all of you, right? To snipe at that and say negative things, that makes absolutely no sense. And I think it shows where your head is in a long versus short game and who's going to still be in this game longer term. So, what am I saying in all of this? I'm saying that listen, the global EOR service is a human opportunity enabler as much as it is an org agility enabler. And we need it, right? And we need it to innovate and we need it to move forward and we don't need it to fail. And what we need is for everybody to rally around the industry as an industry and understand that 1 + 1 = 3. And the longer that we try to hold our peers back and snipe and compete, by all means, compete healthily, but don't snipe and try to bring people down for what they're doing to bring this industry forward when you're not doing it and you're never going to do it. That's my rant, right? And let's have all rising tides raise all boats because it has so far and it will. But I just think the negativity and the sniping is just childish, and I hope we outgrow it at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. And this is like version X.0. I don't even know how many versions, Pete, of your rant, because we all want a healthy market
Yeah.
of competitors and need to contribute to that. But, before this, it was Deel, getting sniped at for its huge acquisition growth, or
Right.
GP
Right.
with Gia and making that available widely to folks, or UKG with the Kronos blunder, and how,
Yeah.
some folks were inclined to take an advantage of that. And so, I think we are maturing overall as an industry. When I think about EOR, so many companies and so many practitioners and leaders still don't even know what EOR is.
Oh, yeah.
So let's use that, right? Just to say, why are we saying there's this organizational agility, lever
Yeah.
here that maybe nobody even knows about, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Best kept secret in outsourcing. I wrote an article about that. Best kept secret in outsourcing, HR
yeah.
outsourcing. So
All right.
yeah,
I
no,
know better than to fuel your rants, so I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah. I love my rants. I love my rants. Thank you for letting me vent. This is why I love this show, because we can just be ourselves and say
That's
whatever.
right.
So yeah. Anyway, look, thank you so much for that. Hopefully, and I'm gonna put my post, I'll put a link to that. You guys can check that out. And yeah, we appreciate everybody sticking and staying with us, giving us your support. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you can do, comment, rate, give us anything, give us feedback, and we'll take it and we'll be back with very much more. So,
hey, I don't know
yeah.
if you mentioned, but we are
Yes.
both going to be at World at Work
Oh,
in
did we? I
April.
think we didn't.
Did we
not
say it in the beginning?
Okay.
Let's say it
Run
at
it
the
back.
end too,
Run it back.
because we're both going to be there. We're going to be there as the podcast, especially. And so, if you're going to be there, shout out, give us a
Yes.
quick holler, because we'd love to meet with folks more and more as we're out there
Yeah.
together on the road.
And maybe come be on the show. If you're going to be at World of Work and you
That's
got
right.
something to talk about, let's talk about it. We're looking for guests right now. We've got a few lined up, but we could take more. So yeah, catch us at World of Work. Catch us where we are. We're going to be everywhere. So we will see you there.